Hello everyone, welcome to the surprising, spontaneous late stream. Nice to see you all here. I know it's really spontaneous and I probably won't stream that long because it's really late for me already, but I just finished working on my new video and as a result I decided to, well, why not stream a little bit and talk a bit about the screenshots published by the Empire magazine today, and why not do this and just look at this particular screenshot which I already showed, and try to find out what's going on with it. Where could it be? And if we might maybe find out one or several locations, why not have a look at if it fits into the lore, right? Oh, nice. Some people are actually here, which kind of surprises me, to be honest. But yeah, pretty nice to see you all. I hope you had a fantastic day, and I also hope that, what's it called? The stream looks, the sound is okay. That's always a big worry. I could, well, I'm muted in Siri, so I can maybe see myself. Okay, sound seems to be okay. Yeah, pretty nice. So let me just prepare a few things. Like, we will of course look at maps, and yeah, I'm not sure. Do you people in chat, the few that are there, have any guesses towards where this place could be? Like, it's really interesting. Let me just get maybe rid of my arrow. So we will look at, as announced, we will look at maps, and I definitely have to get the source here kind of working, which I of course did not prepare at all. It's kind of funny. Let me just see. Sometimes I feel bad at doing things. Yeah, I have it from this particular tweet here, so I just linked the tweet, which is probably the easiest way to do this. I also maybe should update something like this. You can also post it in Twitter in case people want to see it. Totally agree with Redbook that there's a logo grass character, and that's almost it. Well, of course, that is completely true, but it's always interesting to, yeah, I don't know, I like speculating a little bit. I like finding stuff out that might be interesting. Also need to bring this up here. Probably how do I do this, chat? I'm a bit indecisive currently. Maybe keep it like this and then I open it on another thing here. That might be smarter, chat. So yeah, I have to figure out how this works. So what we see here is, of course, also welcome Canadian Fantasy Corner. Gute Nacht, yeah. Konstantin Eckert, gute Nacht. We see a person, a tower, a landscape. In the background we see the sun, and somebody in chat already mentioned, is it sunset or what daytime is it? Because if we could know the daytime, we know which direction this is. Also, no, I'm not Polish, I'm from Germany, but close enough, I guess. Let me just see, I have too many things to do in the background. That currently brings me off track. I even did I prepared one thing, I prepared at least, so I'm not completely unprepared, but to some degree I am. Guten Tag. Wasn't Arondir near the south? Yeah, exactly. So the, what's it called? Fellowship of Fans posted on Twitter that this is a not canon place called Tir Harat. Harat means south in Sindarin. Tir Harat could mean watching over the south. Somebody translated with south watch. In this regard, if this is Tir Harat, it would make sense that he looks towards the south. But we come to this in a moment. Let me just think where this could be. So I need to open this so I see it myself on a bit bigger. That would help me greatly. So there's that. The problem is if I do this, I can't see chat and I can't do production. So I'm currently struggling here a bit with my setup. Maybe I do it like this and put chat on the left screen. Yeah, okay, that might work. Also, how are people doing? Okay, there's a few details that threw me off a few times already with this particular picture here. So let us maybe start with I don't know, the daytime. So the sun is relatively low there in the background. Do I have an arrow here in this picture? I have. So I could use that. So here in the background you see the sun. We know the sun, if we assume this is below the north of the equator, the sun won't be in the north. Like, then it can only be like east, south, or west. It could be, for example, I don't think though that the sun goes down because it's relatively low. And usually if the sun goes down, like in a classical sense, I would assume that it would be more orange-ish, if you know what I mean. So I feel like this might be east. Like it could be in the morning, basically. It could also be Middle Earth is strange and this is the south, or it's maybe a weird day of the year. So if we assume this here is east, this limits, in my opinion, our options, what this place here can be by quite a bit. I don't know, chat, what are you thinking? Oh, Kirdan is also welcome. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Okay, he writes he is doing good. Suddenly 30 people are here watching this. I did not expect 30 people. I thought, if I'm lucky, I get to 5. So I'm happy that a lot of people suddenly show up here. Pretty awesome. Welcome, welcome, everyone. But yeah, to come back to the initial question, could we agree on that this might be south? With mist in the mountains, I would say it is the morning. Yeah, that's a really good point in my opinion. I also really get a more morning-ish feel. And in my opinion, east makes the most sense for this place. I could also zoom in a little bit for you people. I'm not sure if we will need this, though. There are multiple details. Let me just move the arrow around, which is interesting. So this person here, according to Fellowship of Fans, is Arondir. We also saw him in the teaser already. It was the elf shooting the arrows, played by Ismael Cruz Cordova. Also, hi Nolory, nice to see you here. Be honest, the channel is one of the best. That is true, but also it's maybe one of the best. I wouldn't say this myself, to be honest, but I would say it's not the most frequently visited. Is this the Amazon picture? Yes, it is. It is by the Empire magazine published 2 screenshots. We will, in this screen, because it's called Looking at Maps with Chris, that's me, we will mostly look at this picture. I think the other picture, yeah, I don't know, couldn't figure much out. It's just confirmation of the characters, new angle. Can live with that. Exactly, and Arondir is in Tir Harad as well. As said, Tir Harad means South Watch, and it's maybe further in the south. Where exactly it is, we don't know, but this might be a watchtower in this Tir Harad place, and he looks, as the name suggests, as said, Harad means south, and Tir Harad would mean watching over south or something like this, or South Watch, something like that. So it would make sense that it's a tower that is placed more towards the south, looking over the south. However, as we just figured out, this might be east, in the direction we are facing here. Also, Reflective Rambling is here. It's full house here. Pretty awesome. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Did not expect that anybody would appear. I'm kind of happy about this. Yeah, but this person is Arondir. Not that much to be said about this. What is interesting, maybe I can zoom in a bit, just to get the details going. Like, we want to discuss details here, not anything else, and lore. I'm not sure how big. It's always a bit difficult for me to get the stuff really big, if that makes sense. So what is an interesting detail? My first thought was, how did this person get up there on the tower? If we look here, first I saw this here would be a little box or so, but I assume it's a door on the ground, you know, and he basically climbs up. I think there's a screenshot from Lord of the Rings with Gandalf on the top of Orsang. I'm not sure if I can find it this fast. There's also like an indicated small door. Gandalf Orsang. Let me just see if I find something that is useful. Maybe I don't find it that fast. It's a bit too dark here on this screen. Wait. I think I could swear there was like something that was a door indication or so. I can't find it right now, but it's not that important. I assume that's what this little thing there is, just to finish the sentence and make somewhat sense out of it. I also hope you can see the stuff here. So that is interesting. What? Okay. Now it works. I have to undo the zoom. What is also interesting about the picture, and what definitely threw me off guard, like the first impression I got here was, oh, that is an interesting trick. I didn't know that this worked in OBS. Is this place here, this, let's call it marshland or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? This place here in the background. Like if we look at the map, there are not that many places that this could be, I would assume. So let me see, where is the arrow? Here. So for example, this could be, I don't know, the Dead Marshes or something like this. Because we also see these these two little hills that surround this river area. Maybe I can adjust this. Maybe it's round about here, you know what I mean? And if we then, let me just get the screenshot stuff back. Where is it? Production's difficult. Like this place here, maybe-ish. But then the problem, of course, would be, what are these mountains here supposed? Like, depending on which side we look at this, we have the problem of, we have the so-called mountain problem. There are these huge mountain ranges to the left and to the right. And, oh, Dave Terry, welcome. Yeah, there are also some weird fields in the foreground, I agree. Like we have this mountain stuff and this mountain stuff to both sides, which is really unusual and strange in my opinion. Then on top we have this river here. And if we look at the topology, we come to this maybe in a moment. And then if we consider that this is east, we have to, like, it simply doesn't align to this place here on the map if we think about it. Because if we look east, we have to look into this direction here. And this is too far away to be this big mountain stuff on the side. You know, also we would look into... I mean, you could... Maybe we are closer to this place here, then this could be this part. However, on the other side, I don't see the other mountain side. Because it also seems that left on the screenshot, so in the north basically, if this is east, north of us needs to be mountains and south of us needs to be mountains. That is... Okay, now I tricked myself. So these mountains I don't see here on the map. You know what I mean? So I think it can't be this place. It's really interesting. I can't tell if it's just super misty or it's a coast. Yeah, I also thought about this might be a coast. That's a really good point. But if you look here at the distance here at this place, I can zoom in a moment a bit. You definitely see... Okay, I did a terrible mistake, I think. I think my channel is basically founded on terrible mistakes. But if we zoom in quite a lot, like this, you definitely see there is another mountain. So I also thought about maybe there's the sea there somewhere in the background. But if we look at the landscape here, I can maybe also move around a little bit. We definitely see, no, it seems like there are still mountains. Of course, there could be the sea beyond those or so, but it doesn't really look like that there's too much going on. So I think it's not the sea that directly is there. So I would think, yeah, this was my first thought too. Is this maybe Eregion? But maybe we can go through some of this since now that we have discovered or a bit at least mentioned the basic direction. This has to fit on the map to find out where this is exactly. So just to summarize again, we have this mountain here to the left, which is potentially the north. We have if the sun is in the east, we have this mountain range here then in the south. We know there is a river. We have some weird marshes there, and maybe some hills here in the background. And just by this, and we know that this mountain range here to the south is massive. Like, it really looks absolutely massive. By the way, really beautiful screenshot in my opinion. Hey, my channel is found on even bigger mistakes, so you don't steal from my glory. Dave Terry, also welcome. I didn't even welcome everyone, but yeah, hope you had a good day. Welcome for all the people just joining in here to this late hour. Oh, Gaia is here. Awesome, nice to see you. How do we find out it's looking east? We assume it's morning because the mountains are misty and the sun is relatively close to the ground. It's not as orange as when it's dawn or whatever it's called in English. So I assume it's more morning, and the sun goes like the sun rises in the morning in the east in Middle Earth, in my opinion. At least also in our world, if we are not, it's more complicated than just looking at the equator of the world. Like if you are on the southern hemisphere of the world, it depends a bit on the daytime, then the sun can be in the north, but usually it can't be in the north, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is basically the aspects of the world we have. We also know that it seems wherever this tower here stands, the river is coming from this, like, crosses this tower. It's relatively close to this tower, it seems. Would be strange if it would be different. So to determine where this now is, we could maybe go. Like my first, I'm not sure who posted it. I didn't see it. Yeah, sunrise or sunset. We could even discuss if this is sunset. We could even discuss if this is like noon or so, which I don't think so. Then it would be the west. Somebody posted it a moment ago. But somebody said, I can't find him right now, but somebody said it might be Eregion. So for people wondering where on the map is Eregion, Eregion is here. This, let's call it triangle, place next to Khazad-dûm. That is Moria. Khazad-dûm is, yeah, won't hit it perfectly here on this setting, but roundabout here. That's where Moria is. And Ost-Inedil on some maps is here, but it's never officially confirmed where it is. It's the capital of Eregion. And it goes, like there's a road from Moria that follows one of these rivers here. And it goes to Ost-Inedil at some point, the capital. But it's hard to say where it is exactly. Roundabout here. So this is Eregion. If we now consider this, if we go back to the screenshot, we already see the first problem. If under the assumption that the people who made the screenshot were definitely considering the cardinal directions. that's the base assumption we have to make. If it's Eregion, and if this is east in this screenshot, then that would mean we would look directly at the Misty Mountains if we look here from Eregion. But we see there's no wall of mountains directly in front of us, which is true. If we would consider that we look, let's say this is west, even if we look west of Eregion, we would also look like in an open field, but we would not have mountains to our left or to our right from this direction. I can't rotate my arrow, sadly, on the map. So this can't be Eregion. It simply doesn't work by the cardinal directions. Even if it's south, we would if we would look south, you could maybe argue then this is the Misty Mountains, but if we look south, this mountain range here, oh, I moved the wrong arrow. If we look south, this mountain range here would be to our west. But so basically this mountain range, for this to work, these are the Misty Mountains from the perspective of somewhere in Eregion, they can't be on the right side. They would need to be on the left side. These need to be the Misty Mountains, and on top of that, we don't see a big mountain range in the west. So it can, like, if we consider this, it can't be Eregion. In this case, we can definitely exclude this. You think the sun seems high? Like, I don't know. Of course, it depends which time of the year it is. But I feel like the sun is here and it's pretty close to the horizon already. The sun is not like noonish up here in the air. You know what I mean? So I would definitely see it's more morning. But I don't know. I'm an expert on mornings, I guess. Gandalf's on the 5th day. Okay, so let's move on. So it can't be this. Another suggestion somewhere here was The Gap of Rohan by Mark Schieser. And I have a very similar idea. That was also my second thought. This would kind of work, because we know this is, depending if it's morning or evening, this is either, the sun is either in the west or in the east. Like, if we now look at our map, the Gap of Rohan, here at the Second Age time, still called Gap of Kalenardon, would be here. And here we see, we could, like, at least we have two things available here. We have, for one, the Misty Mountains here. Like, a small part of it could kind of work. And here we have, like, a long, big mountain range in form of the White Mountains, the Ered Nimrais, in the, what's it called? In the, in the south. So, if we look at the screenshot, I think that could work. If this is the case, then we could maybe somewhere, I don't know, it's hard to say. We could maybe roundabout where Isengard usually is, if that makes sense. Like here, maybe a bit higher than this, is Isengard. Like Isengard, I think, is pretty up here. But maybe we are not that close to the mountains, but maybe roundabout would be an interesting idea. And that is then the Gap of Rohan, the Gap of Kalenardon, as it's called in the Second Age, as said. We see this, maybe the White Mountains don't completely follow the direction, but we could argue maybe the sun wandered a bit further to the south already, so it's not it's morning and maybe a bit later, so we have like a southeast direction. That would definitely fit, in my opinion, to some degree. Like the Ered Nimrais are really relatively big mountain range, to be honest. And it works. The only thing that doesn't really work, though, in this picture... Oh, you can't see the picture, right? The only thing that doesn't really work on the picture... Where is it? Is the river, sadly. That's my biggest problem with this, is the river. Like, if we need a river that flows east and goes here. The problem is, though, if we look at the map, we know there is a river, but the river, unfortunately, this one here, goes west. It doesn't go east. So the next river we might have available would be this one here. Forgot which one it is. That is the Endwash, right? So we had that one, I guess. There's also there's also this small dude here. And, maybe I should switch stuff here back and forth. So we have this river, which is the Ethan, I guess. And but that goes directly to the ocean, to the west. We have the Endwash, that is this river here. And we have the, I think it's called Snowburn or something like this, right? I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Snowburn? Whatever. Somebody needs to correct me in chat. Maybe that one could work, but we are too far away from these mountains here for that to work. And we know that the river in this screenshot definitely flows right past to us. Like, we see that the mountains here in the south, potential south, are relatively far away. We are much closer to these mountains, if that makes sense, to the Misty Mountains, if this would be the spot. You know what I mean? Also, Rosie Gumcheese also here. Could this be Beleriand? That's another good question. I don't think so, because according to Fellowship of Fens, this guy here is not Amdir, but what was his name again? Oh no, I forgot the name. But it's not a canon name, so I can be maybe forgiven. But he's an elf from the trailer, and he is in a relationship to a woman who has, I think it's Bronwyn, and her name seems to be derived from Old English. So I would not expect a name like this in Beleriand. As a result, I don't think so. Also, the story plays in the Second Age, and this is a Second Age character, I would assume. Of course, he was probably around in the First Age, maybe as well. How to say? Arondir is his name, I think. Need to keep this in mind. Difficult stuff here. So, no. Yeah, thank you for the correction. Also, how's the river exactly pronounced? How's his name pronounced? And has a dress I want to steal. Somebody tell me real quick why we are only looking in the south. We also looked already somewhat up the north. We checked Eregion already, and that kind of works. Like, the information we have from Fellowship of Fens, who was so far a very reliable source, says this is Arondir. And we know from the publications in the Vanity Fair articles that Arondir here, this character, is in a place called Tir Harat, which translates to watching over the south. Harat means south, Tir, watch over. South watch maybe could translate it. Quite interesting. So as a result, many people, when they hear the name Harat, like if we zoom down a bit, Harat is basically down here all the way. That's south of Mordor, so really far away. The name implies that it might be somewhere in the south. However, south is of course a relative term depending on where you are. From the Shire, Eregion is also south. So let me see. The Shire would be, let's say, round about here, all the way up here. Eregion is then here. Isengard or Isengard is here. So that is why we're discussing the south. Amon Hen is completely ruled out now. We might look this in a moment. Currently we're just discussing if this could be the Gap of Rohan. And so far, the Gap of Rohan fits much, much better. The problem with the Gap of Rohan is, if we consider that this is south, because this might be morning and the sun goes up in the south, it might work this way. So the river does not fit, sadly, like in no way. Maybe you could argue the rivers are different if we here look again at the screenshot, but this map here I'm showing to you is the map from the Amazon post. It would be strange if they would change up the ways of the rivers for the show for whatever reason. Maybe they don't. I don't think they consider this too much. Do I have a screenshot of that important scene here available for us, people? Probably not. I could try and find out if I have it. Let me see if I find this screenshot. Like in the teaser, yeah, I have the screenshot. So I don't have the correct thing here. What is interesting in this context, why I even consider the cardinal directions, is we have this screenshot here, which I made from the teaser footage at some point. And the reason why I think it might be correct is this is most likely Numenor, this other screenshot from the teaser. This island here is Tol Uinen, and Tol Uinen would be in the, what's it called, the west of Numenor. Let me just Numenor map. Let me just see if I can. I have to zoom quite a bit. In this bay here, there's a small island called Tol Uinen, and there's a light tower on it, which we also see here. I forgot the name of the tower though. Something Kal. I could just look it up. I'm impressed already that I know the name of the island, to be honest. It is called Lindon, of course. That's a tower. And if we look at this, like there was a scene where the camera flew over a bridge, and if you assume it's noon, I think, noontime here in this roundabout, then the shadows would hint that this here is east, and the mountain in the east, would be what's it called? Minel Tarma, right? So here it seems, if this is then the of course the capital of Numenor, then it would perfectly make sense if we look at the map. Like you see here, it's the capital. There's the island, which is not part of the drawing here, but yeah, this might be then what's it called, Romena, right? I'm mixing the names up. No, it's the East Coast. Romena is East Coast. What was the name of the other thing? My name memory is just confused right now. Too many names. No, it is right. It is Romena. Romena is on the East Coast. Yeah. It makes sense. If you remember the Gandalf quote, I look my coming on the light on the fifth day at dawn, look to the east. So sunrise in the east would be more likely. It's a really interesting idea. that this might be strange. Maybe it would have to look into this quote. What's this place again? This place is Numenor, on the island. It was a realm of men in the Second Age, and it might be very important for the show. Let me just go back, though. I don't think it's Numenor, though it would make no sense, the other screenshot. Let's go back to the assumption where we originally were. They have here the Gap of Rohan, we know from Lord of the Rings, here called potentially Gap of Kalinardon. Let me just put the screenshot back to where it was. However, point was basically in this screenshot, the sun direction and the cardinal directions are correct. So I would assume that the people who make this series put so far some effort into keeping the directions right. And now we have this screenshot, and I would assume the sun goes up in the east. While the sun goes up in the east in Middle-earth, is very important in that regard, that we know there are the gates of morning and the doors of night. And the doors of night are on the west, the gates of morning are on the east, and that is where the sun comes into the world and it vanishes in the doors of night. So it always morning east, evening west. The sun movement moves from west to east in Middle-earth. Especially with Numenor around, the world is much more simpler, I guess, than in a classical spherical world with all kinds of weird stuff due to Earth's inclination and so on. Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty sure this is east. Let me just look into the quote. That is really strange, though. But let me check. Lord of the Rings. I have all the stuff here in the background still opened. Maybe it's just a film quote, I guess. Interesting. Maybe it's can somebody check the quote? That would be interesting to know. I vote east too. Yeah. It should be, like, from my experience with stuff, it would be really strange. I have no name memory pretty much, so I don't look this direction. Yeah, we got it. Somehow Robert's... Yeah, let's not discuss the other screenshot. But yeah, so this is the Gap of Rohan. What other possibilities could there be? Like, we have, as said in the before, let me just try to get the production back on track. As said, we have this swampish area, I'm not sure how you call it, marshland or something like this, here in the background, and we have these two things. So if we look at marshland, of course, we could also think of, like, the Gladden Fields or something, which are up here. But then, if this would be here, and we consider, even if we would switch the cardinal directions around however we want, this here is definitely not the north. That, I guess, we can all agree on. Where the sun is not the north. So if this is east, in this direction, we would have to see the Mirkwood. We don't see Mirkwood here on the screenshot at all. Like, there's no gigantic forest thing. Of course, if this is east, it would work. If it's south, we would also... Let me just think. If it's south, this mountain range is again on the wrong side. Like, this is... If the sun is south for whatever reason, this would be this can't be the Misty Mountains because it's in the west then. This could be the Misty Mountains, but if it's south, well, let me just... Sorry, I just messed up the production here again. Complicated. If this is south, this here in the east would be the Misty Mountains, and here where the mountains are, there should be there should be Mirkwood, but well, Greenwood the Great, as it's called still in the Second Age. This is not the case, so it doesn't work either. If this is the west for whatever reason, let me just see if this is the west, where the sun is, then that doesn't work either, because we then should simply look directly into the Misty Mountains if this is west. If it's close. That's also not the case. So it seems like we have relatively far view. There's no gigantic mountain range blocking our view. Or the tower is just really high. Yeah, but I don't think so. Yeah, it's just a film quote. Yeah. That might explain the confusion. Sometimes films don't consider the cardinal directions too much. Let me just drink something really quick. In the meantime, I try to catch up a bit with chat. Why do all the towers not have an obvious way? Well, we discussed this. This little box here, I think, is a door. And there's a staircase inside the tower, probably with a ladder or something. But yeah, if we maybe can zoom it can zoom in again. I pressed the wrong button, like the foolish person I am. Nope. This little thing here seems to be a door that is opened, I think, in the ground. Pretty sure about that. Okay, so this doesn't work either. So we can't be here, close to the Anduin. Then this river could be the Anduin, for example, but it doesn't work. Like, the landscape is simply not fitting. There is a hedge. I think this one, no obvious stairs or ladder. Like, interestingly, even in the film, you see there's a way up, and in the books, there's also a way up and a door described in the books as well. Pretty interesting. I think even in the films, you can see in one weird angle, like there's Gandalf, I think, sitting on the ground, and he has this little plate next to him. He looks really sad, sitting on the cold top of Orthanc. And I think you can see like something like a trapdoor or something. I couldn't make out the screenshot, and I'm too lazy yet now to just zoom through 5,000 screenshots. I hope. I mean, I could try to find it, but that's just a detail that doesn't help us here too much, I guess. But I think there is a screenshot where you can see like a little thing on the ground, which might be a trapdoor, like a door on the ground you can open. Yeah, there's of course, Konstantin. There is always like there could be things, but let's just pretend we know what's going on. Yeah, the Anduin would also look much bigger. It's a really big river. And also strange that it goes right past us. Really hard to tell where this be. Like, in theory, what also would work, it's a bit completely off, and it would make no sense that this tower, this place is called Harad or something. Is like, this would actually work if we pretend we would be here, really high up in the north. Then if we look east, for example, this could be the Grey Mountains, the Ered Mithrin, and we see here up. I think, let me just think for a moment. If we look east, would it work? If we look east, it doesn't really work, to be honest. Maybe kind of. Well, it would work if we look southeast or something. Would it work? Then west of us would be Yeah, west and north would work. North of us would be the other mountains then. Let me just check my screenshot really quick. If we look into this direction, yeah, then to the right would be the Misty Mountains, which would be the same, and the other side would be, yeah, it's not perfect, but I guess it could kind of work. In the south, we would, we would look down the Misty Mountains here in the south if this is east, and this here could be part of the Grey Mountains, but I'm not really convinced that this kind of works. It would make very little sense. Though, I don't know, we would also need to see some Karoks and like the Karok and some other things on the path of the river. Really hard to say, but I don't think we are this far up in the north. Another option that I thought about, which I also think is not that unlikely, or not, which might be interesting actually, is if we go much further south than this. Let me just, I don't know how to make the transition. So here's the gap of Rohan. If we just jump down a little bit, and if we jump down a bit further, maybe we are actually here. What do you think about this location? We are there where Minas Tirith later will be. Let me just pull up the screenshot really quick. However, the problem with this is the following. This assumes we're looking toward the south and not toward the east. But let's pretend the sun is in the south. Beleriand, that would be an interesting idea too, but I don't think we are in Dingens. Yeah, the Karok is really far away, I agree, but we don't have to be that. We have to be up north quite far. However, if we go into the direction of Gondor and go to where Minas Tirith is and pretend we are looking south, so west of us would be then. It doesn't really work, to be honest, because if this is south. Let me just think for a moment. If this is south, then west of us would be the this mountain range. Well, it works, right? If this is south, this works. Yeah, I think it works. This would be then the. What do you call it? Do I think this wrong? Is this? You can hardly see the arrow. Let me just move it a bit back. This would be then the White Mountains part of it, maybe something. And then this big mountain range east of us should be this one here, right? That could kind of work. And then if we look further, there is a place, like if we think about what this is, here in the background, we have, I think it's called Emun Aran or something like this. There's a hill thing down the river, if that makes sense. Maybe-ish. So these would be the, what were they called? Boy, all the names, like, really complicated. Yeah, Emun Arnen. Arnen is the name. Emun Arnen, and they are the Ephilduath. The Mountains of Shadow, I think, is the translation. So, this massive mountain range would be the mountain range of Mordor. Then we are in the south. We're watching the south, as Tir Harat suggested. Or suggests, and this river here could be then the Anduin. Like, it's not perfect, but maybe it works somewhat, if that makes sense. No, it does not work because you would look north then. Let me just think again. Like, it's really complicated. Like, this is south, right? Then this is west, and this is east. Like, you don't see what I'm doing with the map. Let me. It's so complicated to do the thinking, the directional thinking, and then 3-dimensional thinking, and at the same time do production and read chat. That's really tough. But like, if this, oh, I moved the wrong thing. This direction is south, right? If this is south, this here must be west, and this here must be east, right? If we look down the south. They'll look down south. And this direction where we are looking from would be north. And if we just jump back to the map. So I said the big mountain range must be west. In my opinion, that should work, right? Or am I making a stupid mistake again? There to your right, you look north. Well, we could make a trick because that is what I prepared. maybe the image is mirrored. Then it would look like this. My brain is starting to hurt. Yeah. How even functioning, let alone reasoning at 1 a.m.? Yeah, let's don't talk about that. Yeah, but I assume it's not mirrored, but then it would work better, right? Wait. If I look north, if I'm standing here, look north, they need to be on the right. No, I'm pretty sure it works. Eregion, so it would make sense. I don't think that's a major river, just local valley river. That's true. Not sure how seasons work in Flat Arda. That is true. In the summer, the sun rises more in the northern part of the east. It's of course a good point. Lindon is. We could also check Lindon in a moment. Let me just try to untangle the knot in my brain for a moment. Like this, the 3-dimensional thinking stuff. This late in the day, it's really complicated. Like if we look north. The mountains here would be I think I'm right. If this is north, then the big mountain range here, this must be Mordor. If we would wait, then no, you are right. It should be the other way around, right? Why am I too stupid to think this right now? But you are right. This Mark is right. I think this would be this direction, and not the other one. But yeah, if we look at the map, if we would look north, the mountains should be should be right, which are on the screenshot, and this should be to the left, which is also the case on the screenshot. The problem with this is though. Yeah. You are right. I see now my mistake because I just mixed east and west. Yeah. You are right. The screenshot for this location here to work, the screenshot would need to be mirrored. But luckily I prepared this and can just pretend, no, it was supposed to be mirrored. Now it would work. Now if we look south, this would be Mordor to the right, other to the right. So we can exclude this position as well, right? Actually, I like the image better mirrored. Yeah, that's kind of funny, isn't it? What about Eregion? Eregion we already covered at the beginning of the stream, but for Eregion the problem is that we don't have. Let me just switch to Eregion really quick and revert the image back to normal in the background. For Eregion to work, we don't like. If we look, if you consider that we look east, we would look directly into the Misty Mountains here. If we look east on the screenshot, so we looked. Let's pretend we look along the arrow on the screenshot. If the sun is in the east, then we would look into the mountains. If the sun is in the west, we would also look away from the mountain and see no mountains at all, which is also not the case. If we look west, it doesn't work. Like, we need a mountain range to our left, to our right, and a smaller mountain range to our left for this to work. And this is not the case for Eregion. If it's in the south, if we look south though, the Misty Mountains should be in the east. The Misty Mountains should be on the other side, right? They should be on the left then, and they are not. Like, this big mountain range that we see where the arrow is should be on the other side then, and we don't have mountains on the other side anyway, so it doesn't. So Eregion simply doesn't work out. Lindon we could also check. Lindon might be an interesting one because we have some options there, but I don't really feel how this could work. Like, if this is, for example, Lindon is up here, we have to jump all the way up further to the north. The problem with Lindon is, if we look east, we look into an open wide field with some hills, not a massive mountain range. We only have the blue mountains here to the left and to the left and to the right. And we would assume that we are in a bay, and it doesn't really look like a bay area to me, though it could be the Loon, how to say word, if you pronounce it correctly. And the Loon goes up north. The problem is the river goes east, and you see here on the map that the river goes more in the north direction and splits up. That is not what we see here on the map. I mean, could argue, let me just think, with this east. We could argue it maybe goes a bit up into the direction of north, but it looks, in my opinion, too different for this to really work. Like, the river goes more in the direction of east than north. It maybe takes a small turn direction of north, but it goes not straight up, if that makes sense. Let me switch back to the image so you see how the river runs. The river running also a place, but yeah, probably doesn't really fit in my opinion. Like, you could, if we would look south, also we don't have like we have then also we need a mountain range that goes into the land and deep into the land. That also is not the case here. If we would look though into the south, which also might be a possibility, and we are here, we don't have. Let me just think. If we look south, west of it should be the thing. So here, yeah, we could look down. This could be the mountain range on the other side, but then we would be relatively far away. I mean, it kind of works, but we have no explanation for the mountains on the other side, I think. So we also need mountains in the east, and we don't have mountains in the east. Like, Eregion is pretty big, and we don't have like an explanation for this mountain stuff here to the left. Like, where's it coming from, right? So it doesn't really work. Okay, that might be an interesting idea. Like, you say, somewhere between, let me see, where was it? Post. Lindon with mine, I'm thinking somewhere between Lindon For Lindon, that is up here. Okay, that is an interesting idea, actually. So, you mean somewhere here, right? There's also a river here. But the problem is, the river... I mean, you could argue a river goes south, if that makes sense. So we are looking on the screenshot, like, east doesn't work for this picture, because then we would look directly into the Blue Mountains, which we don't do. The river... But we could pretend we look down south for a moment. Then we have a few mountains here, and we have a few mountains, then we have Blue Mountains on this side. So the Blue Mountains are east. If we look down south, that doesn't work, because the Blue Mountains, the big mountain range, if these are the Blue Mountains, they should be on the other side, if I'm not mixing, no, west, yeah, yeah. Like, let's go back to the screenshot. If we think about it, this here, if we look down south, this is west, and in the west is this mountain range. And it looks a bit too massive for this small mountain range here on the map. Like, it's really just a small mountain range, some hills close to the coast, I guess mountains. But you know what I mean? It doesn't really work. I think that for it to work, the image needs to be inverted again, right? Who says it's a river and not a pathway? I would also say it reflects a little bit. You'd see like the sun. Oh, you don't see the screenshot. You don't see like if you look here, there's like a swamp or marshland or whatever you call it in English. You see the sun reflecting if you zoom in a lot. I can maybe try zooming in a bit more again, so it's easier to see. But yeah, it definitely looks like the sun here reflects quite a lot. So I would assume it's a river. It also has a typical river, does some weird turns and so on. It really seems like a river. And you also see other pathways. And we're still talking about Middle Earth, and this would be like, I don't know, a highway or something for the size, I would assume. So I'm pretty sure on this being a river. Yeah, in the Southlands, said about the picture of Bronwyn, who has a romance with a character seen here in this picture. Yeah, Arondi or whatever his name was, right? Yeah, there's a riverbank and so on. You also, I think, also good indicator is this here. Like, this looks really like riverish, right? There's this stuff there and so on. So I'm pretty sure it's a river. But if we come back to this place in Lindon, if I'm not doing, again, the same thinking mistake as before, like in the west, these mountains are east of us, the Blue Mountains here. And here, though, is west if we look down the south. And sure, it would work if we would look north, it would work. Then this is east. But if we turn it around, this is west. If that makes sense, right? So it's on the wrong side. We would need to invert the image again for this place to work, which should look like this. Like if the image would be like this, it would work. Then these would be the Blue Mountains there on the left. Could work. River Askar in Beleriand. Let me just see. Oh, sorry, So I have a Beleriand map. Shoutouts to Kierdan, my moderator, for making it. Me just zoom in so I can get this prepared. So the idea is this is now first age, and like if we go back to this map here, just as an explanation for people maybe not familiar with this. So these are the blue mountains here. This is second age map. In the first age, there's more land west of it, which was sunk into the ocean after the War of Wrath at the end of the first age. And this land is called Beleriand, that we see here. So if it is the first age, Beleriand, these are the blue mountains. Basically, here would be Mislond later or something like this. They're probably here. Something like this. It's complicated, I know. And the river Askar is here. So you could argue we would look toward... Then we would still look... If this is east, we look towards a mountain range. If we follow the river Askar, in my opinion. So if this would be Askar, there in... Oh, I need to revert the image again. Like, yeah. The blue mountains should be here where the arrow is, and that is not what we're seeing. If we look south, it would work, but when still we have the problem that we need like south and west, we need mountains, and I don't see this with Askar really working. You could, of course, maybe say we look into this valley here, right? Like we know that we see a dwarf road, and we know there's a dwarf road that leads to the other side, kind of here, in this place. And for example, some of the houses of the Edain went through this road and got here. It's complicated. Let's not go into that, but that kind of would maybe work. But yeah, I don't think that this would be the case, because as said, if the person on the tower would be Arondir, the elf, from Tirharad, I think he's a second age character, and he has a relationship with this woman. So I would assume this is not first age stuff. This is second age stuff. So, and there Beleriand doesn't exist anymore. And also, if we look down east, we would have to see maybe another river crossing there. Like, we have a huge land down here. Like, look at all the rivers. There are 7 rivers or something in total that we need to see here. We need, like, a gigantic forest if we look more towards the west. So, along this mountain range here, somewhere here in the background, we should see, like, a huge forest or so. Really, really hard to say, in my opinion. Of course, it could be much simpler, but I think it's kind of fun to just speculate a bit. So I would exclude Beleriand, in my opinion, but we could of course check other places. But I don't think it's Askar, the river Askar, and like it doesn't really fit. I read an interesting theory though, which I'm not 100%. It could. Which kind of could work to some degree, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest. And for that, we have to go back to where we were. So we go transformation back to the second age map. Here is Mislond, the Grey Havens, in case. So now the Beleriand is gone, sunk into the ocean again. We are back to Middle Earth as we know it from Lord of the Rings. And if we now go down south a bit, because we as the name suggests, Tirharad might be somewhere in the southern lands, but as said, southern lands could be anything. Somebody posted the idea, I think it was Tolkien Guide. Was it Tolkien Guide? I'm not sure who it was. Somebody posted that on Twitter. I think it's an interesting idea, and his idea basically was, or this person's idea was, that this land here that we are seeing is actually a Mordor, the inner part of Mordor. And I think from the topology, it kind of works. Like if we now switch to the map, I'm not exactly sure where to put the arrow yet, but let's just pretend we are somewhere here. Maybe. This here would be maybe a bit east of Kiris Ungol. Like the Tower of Kiris Ungol, I guess it's here or so. I'm not 100% sure right now. But let's just pretend. Looks far too green to be Harad. Yeah, I agree on this. So this maybe works. Like, I have some law concerns when it comes to this, to be honest. But then, for example, this mount, like it's a bit too small for Mordor in my book, if I'm honest. But then this here would be the Mountains of Shadow, like maybe down here. We have a river in the south. Let me just put the arrow on the map a bit different. Like we have this river here that also goes into the east. If we move the map further, there might be, I don't know what is behind Mordor, but it is not another mountain range. Basically, Mordor is this, it's like has on every corner mountains except in the east. So this would kind of work, and if you know what I mean. You just have to live with like a green Mordor. I mean, we know that this region here down of this, what is it called? The Sea of Norn? Or is it Nornen? It's a bit greener. Yeah, Nornen, right? Yeah, it could be, I don't know. We don't see a big sea here, like, though, if this is one of the four rivers. Maybe this is like a proto-Sea of Nornen, who knows. However, it would kind of work, because if we look east, we would have mountains in the north and in the east. So north, we would have these mountains here maybe, which could be that thing, which this here are the mountains. And then on the other side of the river, we have the Mountains of Shadow, which would be a massive thing in the south. That would kind of work, I think, right? So if we look east, this is south, the other side is north. Yeah, maybe a bit south on the river, I agree. Yeah, exactly. That was the farming region of Mordor later. We also know from somebody my Discord posted that in Shadow of Mordor there was also the idea that there were towers in Mordor. So this was maybe Mordor before it was corrupted by the Dark Lord. It's maybe a very early shot of this. Also, alright, my darlings, I must be away. It was great fun to speculate with you all. Yeah, thank you for staying and speculating, Rosie. Sleep well. See you next time, I guess. Illustirion. Illustirion would be tower hills, but yeah, of course the towers are not built yet, I guess. But that would bring us back to Lindon again. I don't think so. We discussed Lindon already, that it doesn't really work. Like, this mountain range is far too big. If we look east, then the Tower Hill, like, then these would need to be, in case people wonder, these here roundabout are the Tower Hills, and one of the multiple towers on it, and one Palantir is later stored. And these are the Emun Bereid, I think is the name of these hills. And this is not a hill. This is then south. So this mountain range here is in the south, and it looks too big and goes too much into the east for this to work. If you would look south, yeah, we don't have an explanation for these mountains, and simply, as said, it simply doesn't sadly work. But yeah, maybe it's Mordor. The problem with that is, like, Sauron like, if we go into the Lord of the Rings, did I prepare this by accident? I did. We can read in Appendix B that around the year 1000 of the Second Age, Sauron, alarmed by the growing power of the Numenorians, choose Mordor as land to make into a stronghold. He begins to build the building of Barad-dûr. So, if we think about the appendix, and considering that, I don't know, there is Isildur in this series and so on, and it's about the Rings of Power. Like, the Rings of Power are, and the One Ring are forged like 500 years later. I mean, we could argue maybe it's like in the past, so then it maybe works, but I'm not 100% sure how Mordor looked. Also, I feel like it's a bit too small. Like, I'm not sure what Círdan would say to this. But if this is Mordor, it feels a bit small. And also, I don't know, are we not still missing some of the other rivers then? And a big sea in the background? Really hard to say. I mean, it could be just very far off. So, I would say, interestingly, just... Yeah, of course, there is the argument of the argument falls apart because they already announced that the timeline might be compressed. But it's really hard to say how green Mordor is down there in this corner. I mean, there are rivers, however, you can't drink the water because it's yeah, not good water. Would make sense to show Mordor before and after Sauron. Yeah, that is an interesting idea, but we have to also consider that Mordor is just very, very big. Like, I would need to find... Is there a scale on this map? Let me just see. Yeah, there is. Like, you have to, if we go to this scale here, it's of course in leagues and not in miles, but Tolkien often used these leagues. Yeah, compressing the timeline causes a lot of issues, I agree. Yeah, so a league, let me just see. If there's like, what is the calculation? A league is 3 miles or something, right? Maybe somebody with more knowledge about old units and Tolkien, the units Tolkien used for his books. Can you tell me? So, yeah. You see, the scale is pretty big already. So let's pretend. So my arrow is, let's say, I don't know, what is this? Oh boy, it's hard to calculate like this. 25, 50. Halves is 12.5, so 37 miles is my arrow. Not miles, leagues. Let's say my arrow is 40 miles. That's easier to calculate. That are 120 120 miles, right? So if you just consider how far 120 miles are, like that's quite a bit, to be honest. Oh, Digi's also welcome. It might be that some parts are off. My point is just that Mordor is insanely huge. Like the I don't know. I'm for metric. I'm also for metric. So 1 mile is what is it? 1.6 kilometers. So if we can, it would be like my arrow is 360 kilometers long here in this on this scale. I didn't zoom in. You can't look that far. That is also probably a good point, that you can't look that far. But you have to consider that the Earth is still flat where Numenor exists, so you maybe can look a bit further. But yeah, 360 miles. So the distance here from this to this part to this part, I don't know, it's almost half of Germany, basically. That's, yeah, quite big. Yeah, so it would fit that you don't see much open land and the sea. Yeah, maybe you are right. Oh, Vericata, there it is also here. Welcome. Nice to see you. Yeah, there are multiple versions of leaks, but if it's 3.45, exactly 3, I don't know. Let's just calculate roundabout. We can just agree on it's a relatively big distance on this scale here, if this scale is somewhat correct. I would need to. I have a map. I have Tolkien's map somewhere here. Let me just try to find it. Might be a bit difficult, but I have my German Lord of the Rings version here, and it has a map that you can take out, which is pretty awesome. That is Gondor. I don't need that. Well, I would still say it's pretty close, yeah. Oh, it is in miles. Do I have something that helps me? Maybe. No, I need all my old school stuff, I guess. Just a moment. But yeah, it looks size-wise, if we look at Tolkien's map that we know from Lord of the Rings, from the book, it seems somewhat similar, I feel. This is probably miles, so 6 centimeters are 250 miles, I guess. So let me think. 1.2. So the distance from there, 3.5, okay. Jetzt. Here it would say it's 100. I said 120 miles on my map. If I measure the distance from here to here, like from this place to the mountain range here, it's round about 150 miles, even a bit more. So that's in kilometers, 240 kilometers. So it's quite a bit. But I'm not 100% sure if the translation is correct, but who knows? It says miles here at least. Not even Legolas can look that far. 3 sounds more old school, yeah. Would make sense to use English League for Tolkien, exactly. So it's hard to say how big this is exactly, but it seems like it's a pretty huge distance. Sadly, I can't rotate my arrow. Like somewhere I had like a tool which allowed me to do this, but I forgot how it worked. Okay, I could rotate it. Minus 80 degrees. Yeah, I don't know. It's round about the length of the arrow, so it's somewhat between, let's say it's somewhat between 280 and 300 something kilometers. Well, I don't wish to be in Norden, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know though. I have to admit that just from the topology and just if we look at the details here on the map, it kind of works. Maybe it's a bit like, I don't know, if this mountain here is next to it. I mean, there could be some hill. I don't know. It looks a bit small if you consider the distance, but maybe they scaled it a bit down. Like I often also felt like in Peter Jackson's adaptation, they also made Middle Earth more like a Disneyland and much smaller than it actually is. If that makes sense. For example, if we think about this one screenshot where you can see the lonely mountain in the distance. Let me just see. I think there's a scene where they are on the Carrock. Let me just think which one of those was a Carrock. Yeah, this one here, right? It must be next to the high pass. Carrock is this here, I think, is a Carrock. Up in the north. And if you just consider, like, Erebor is like, I don't know, let's say 600 kilometers or, what did I say, 300 miles? No, that doesn't fit roundabout, but... What did I just say? It's 300 miles away. 1.6, so it's 500 miles away or something, like kilometers away, or 300 miles. Even a bit more probably. And there's a screenshot where you can basically see it. Yeah, the tower is elven probably, and the person standing there is supposed to be an elf, we assume. The question is, where would elves be in this region? That seems pretty off, though. Let me just see if I find the screenshot of the of Erebor somewhere really fast. So you know what I mean. I mean, they could just compress the distances, and they have done this before. I mean, that's now the Hobbit film, but that's an example I currently can think of and probably find. I mean, you could argue that it's maybe 600 kilometers or I always come up with 600. I know how I came to this conclusion, but here, this screenshot, for example, from the first Hobbit film, they stand on the Carrock, which, as said, is here on the map, and yeah, they can see the misty, they can see the lonely mountain, the Erebor in the background, which is this thing here, and it's pretty far away. It looks far away though, but it's really far away. 250 miles would be more accurate. I have to... We can measure it on the map, though. Yeah, you're right. It's 250 miles, interestingly. Did I say 300? Whatever. But, yeah. Fair enough. It's far away still. That's my point. No, Kirla knows his distances, so there's that. Still, I think it's an interesting idea that this might work. It's early. It could be... We don't know when this is in the Second Age, of course. It could be whenever, if that makes sense. I still think, though, that we should see like a big sea somewhere. There should be a river coming from here, which might be hard to see, or the view might be blocked, though. But why would elves watch towards the east down here? That I still don't fully understand. Like, it makes very little sense. Because we know at the end of the Second Age, Sauron went into hiding. We don't know exactly where he went. Some people assume he didn't go right to Mordor. What we have to consider, though, is that here is Mount Doom, and Mount Doom was created by the first Dark Lord Morgoth. You could argue this land looks maybe a bit too beautiful and friendly if you consider that it might have to do with the first Dark Lord. Like, it's definitely a detail one should consider. Of course, it might be an interesting idea how you basically portray how Mordor looked before and then Sauron gets there and how Mordor then looks much later. Though this is as said, the south of Mordor, which is considered greener around this lake here. Where is it? The Sea of Nurnen. Where also, like... It's an interesting idea. Damn you, moving makers taking too much artistic freedom. No, the sun in the Hobbit photo is more to the north than the east. That is true. That is indeed really strange if we look at the screenshot again. Like, if you look at the shadows, the sun is really close to the north. Like, but you could still argue it's maybe... yeah, it's not fully west. It's maybe northwest. But as said, maybe they took some freedom with the directions. But it's a different story and different adaptation, so it's hard to say. Oh, it would be... Yeah, that's an interesting point by... what was his name pronounced? Zanex? No, that's probably not. Whatever, something like this. Exactly. It could be the Avari are the elves, the refusers that also are somewhere in these lands for some time. They're already looking slightly north. Yeah, that might be. Let's not give them too much credit, though. Really strange. Ah, the second arrow thing. Okay, that explains it. Just confused for a moment. Yeah, are there any more ideas for from people where this place could maybe be? I have to say, the last one here is the most plausible one for me, it seems. But the only thing that is off, I feel like the area is too green. What is also unusual is if we look at the screenshot here, we definitely see a lot of paths. Like, you see there are maybe some fields, and you definitely see traces of human civilization here. And considering that it only later got like the farming land of Mordor, basically, it seems strange that you have so many passes there already, even through the forest. Like, somebody had to make those passes there for this to work. You know what I mean? Like, I would imagine that a place that is so incredibly remote here, like Mordor and the Sea of Nurnen, like, why would be there so much activity? I wouldn't be surprised if you find some villages there and some farmers and so on. It seems to me very, very strange that Círdan has still an interesting idea. We'll maybe discuss in a moment. But I think that feels for me a bit off. Of course, also, if Sauron isn't there yet, then there's also no reason for elves to have, like, to look over this land. That looking over Mordor comes into place much later by Gondor. And Gondor is only founded, like here's Minas Anor, or Minas Tirith, as it's later called. It's round about here. This comes much later into place, and then they have several towers or strongholds that watch a bit over Mordor, especially this this northwestern part of Mordor here. Like, we have what is it called? Durthang, and we have Kiris Ungol. We have the Black Gate and so on, all kinds of stuff. It's yeah, but this is much later. This is at the very, very end of the Second Age. Like, at the beginning of the Third Age, to be precise, because it's after the Last Alliance they start controlling Mordor. What's Sauron's tax policy? Pain, yeah. You pay taxes for Sauron in pain. Even a Dark Lord needs an economy. Maybe it's one of the edges of the Misty Mountains looking to Lothlorien. Let me just think. I mean, yeah, you could maybe thinking about something like this here. I would still say the river does not make too much sense from here. If you look in the direction of the arrow, so east, we still need, let me just think. If we look east, south, in the south there must be mountains. And the mountain range still follows this. If we look south, let me just think about, if we would look south, then west of us, that would fit, kind of. This could be then the Misty Mountains here to the, where's the screenshot? This here could be then the Misty Mountains if we look south. They must be west. This is west. And maybe this part then, the east, could be something like this. Maybe, yeah. We would need to look south, though. This photo doesn't make much sense. Probably, yes. But still fun speculating about, I think. So Círdan suggested, my last guess is that the river they added to the south, of the Sea of Rhûn and Eredlithui. Let me just see. But from which direction? Let me just... Can you... do you mean this river here? Like, now we are basically beyond Mordor. The Eredlithui are these here. This mountain range to the Black Gate. I think this is the river that you mean. The question is, in which direction are we facing then? So if we look east, we would look along the river, so that would not work. If we look south, let me think. Maybe you mean this part down here, right? If that makes sense. I could try to zoom in a little bit more. Probably really hard to see for you people. At least it's hard to see for me. Okay, now we of course ruin the scale of everything. Does this work, chat? Right at the... Okay, looking east, right at the start. Then you are right. If we go back to the screenshot here. If we look east, this is south. Where the arrow is on the picture, right? Problem might still be what is north then, because we don't see much, but you could say maybe there's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's more mountainy-ish around this corner here. Oh boy. Of course, the bots have found me. Thank you for... You were faster than I was. But yeah, you could, for example, argue that in the north, maybe that it's not on the map because it's a relatively unknown area and we only have like very little details about this and it's not a flat land, but maybe it's a bit mountainish, if that is even a word. Let me say, let's pretend we are maybe here. And we know that the river, I don't know, goes... If we look at east, the river goes somewhat in the direction slightly north. So you could make the argument that this might work. But then, of course, here north also needs to be this mountain range, if that makes sense, right? Is that where the fake village is? You mean the invented village by Tir Harad? Yeah, we don't know where it is exactly. We know from a post of Fellowship of Fens, or we can speculate that this person here sitting on the tower, just to maybe update some people that are new here. This person is Arondir, and we know from the Vanity Fair article that he lives in Tir Harad, and Fellowship of Fens also said that this tower is a watchtower, whatever, in Tir Harad. Tir Harad is a thing that's not in the books of Tolkien, but Harad means south, Tir means watch over, so you could translate it to South Watch, or watch over the south, or something like this. And this probably, exactly where this might be. So this would also be an interesting option, I think. What about... we look down south and are maybe here. Would this work? Probably not, right? Though, then this mountain range here, if we look south, is west, right? And west of everything here would be these mountains, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe there are some more mountains here on the other side. Like we have some indications up here. So maybe here are also some mountains or so. Maybe they took some artistic freedom. Could also work, right? Are the ancestors of the Dorwinion elves Sindar, or are they not Avari then? Hard to say. I have to admit, I'm not sure what is going on there. We know they have some contact with the Sindar. It's a wrong scale, I agree. The scale would be completely off, but was just a thought. Also, the river here on this thing here goes into the east, and this river here, if this is south, goes more towards the west. So the river should go more into this direction here instead of the other one here. So it doesn't really fit. But I think this is also not a bad guess. But considering like the initial one from Círdan, that we may be roundabout here, but definitely possible. Would be an interesting option. Let me just see. Okay, I did a terrible mistake, I think. Now I have to make my map smaller, I think, again. Because I don't want to... No, yeah, smaller. Not sure by how much, though. Slide a bit. I think I zoomed in a bit more than we usually do. Probably have to zoom in a bit more. Always a bit difficult to do the production live. Do we have more suggestions in chat? Like, I don't know. So far, that is... yeah, I don't know. This one also kind of works, I feel, though the scale is still off, in my opinion, by quite a bit. This one here is actually pretty... It's much narrower and smaller, so this would work, in my opinion, much better. Not gonna lie. Other than that... Like, I have to admit, I really like the idea of it being the Gap of Rohan, or the back of Calenardon. And we look down the east, and then here, if we look the east and the south, these are then the Eret Nimrais, the White Mountains. Could kind of work in the what is it called? On the east, the north are then the Misty Mountains, or parts of it. Maybe here in this vale, I don't know, would be what is it called? The other place, not Minas Tirith, but Isengard. I still prefer south of the Gate of Rohan. Yeah, the Gap of Rohan. I think you mean. I also would prefer that, to be honest. I mean, we also could go, I don't know, look west, east. Like, we also have Kant or something like this. Would be cool to explore this place. Like, we also have a river going east here. But we don't have a big mountain range in the south. So that doesn't really... work. Like, where would this be? If we would look west, though, if we would look west, that would work. Like, let's pretend this is not sunrise but dawn, which would be strange, though, to be honest. But then, I mean, we have some hills and stuff here in this area. We have a river. If we look west, this is if we look west, this is then north. Yeah, the river also goes north, right? Maybe the scale is wrong, though, again. Like, I'm not sure. Sadly, there are too many possibilities, and there's always something that doesn't really 100% fit. I would zoom in a little bit again. Sadly, zooming always takes some time. You know what I mean? Like, if we pretend this would work best if we would look the other direction, like if we would look west. Then there's somewhere in the very far distance, we also see on this map here some hills here close to the coast, so we probably wouldn't see the ocean. I guess it's also it's very far away if we just consider how far away that is. Maybe we don't. It's a very unexplored land. Does somebody see maybe something that would fit better? The problem is, of course, we have this massive mountain range, but we could just pretend, as said, if we look into the west direction, then we could totally take the mountains of shadow there. The TPhLore. Yeah, the good thing about like this, the gap of Rohan stuff works, I think for very well for everything except for, I would say, the river. Like, the river doesn't really work too well. Not sure what you people think. Hope I'm still live. Looks like it. We just drink something. But I don't know. If we think a bit outside of the box, I really feel like, and it especially since it's called, let me just think, is there another option that we could work? What about, and we wouldn't have to look west from here. We could also look somewhere in, we could also be somewhere in Gondor, right? Scale-wise, it would probably be off if we would look into the east direction, if that makes sense. Then we have like these mountains close to Belfalas. We have the these in the north. If we look east, probably doesn't really fit, to be honest, but just a thought. Probably a bit too small. But you could argue maybe you don't see it. I think it doesn't really fit. Like, the White Mountains come too close to our viewing range. Then the game needs to be inverted again, I feel. But yeah, maybe it's also too far away. Like I said, the world is pretty big. Or we look into the west, but then we would see the ocean stuff. Like, maybe then even this place here could work. Like, here we have a river. Would this work? No. But yeah, if it's not that, let me just see. I have somewhere another version of the map, which I would like to double check. Let me just see, where are my maps? Somewhere there. Yeah, on the original map that's not edited, it's the same. I mean, you could assume it works. Like, I have to admit, I also like this idea a little bit, at least. Like, we could also pretend it's further here. Maybe it's right next to Kant. It would be strange, but it would be at least very far in the south as a result. And about, I don't know. Harad itself, we simply know too little, and there are only few rivers. Like, for sure, you could make an argument it's somewhere here or so, but if we look into the east, and there are mountains left and right, but it would need to follow. The mountain range needs to follow a river if we look into this direction. Like, sure, it could be these mountains here. Really hard to say. Yeah, and law-wise, of course, we also get into all sorts of trouble, I guess. Like, the problem is a bit, if in my imagination, even though we don't have really good confirmation about this, Harad seems to be more dry place, and if we look at the image, it isn't really that dry. Like, it looks like farmland and pretty nice. So it's kind of it seems a bit unusual for that. But I would also very much argue that this is the east. The sun is in the east. Like, that seems the most plausible thing for me. And all we need then is a river that goes to the east and has mountains in the south. So, like, this place here would work. The river runs into the direction of the sun, and the sun is in the east, and it takes a slight turn north then here in this corner, if that makes sense. So the river goes east, maybe northeast at some point. If we consider it's morning. Yeah, where all the rivers meet here is also probably not really working out. There's just too much river action, and the river gets pretty big. Like, the Anduin is a really big river, and the river doesn't look that big. So I don't think this would work either. And you could maybe make an argument that it's there. Like, I would say, if this image would if we could determine that this direction is north, then I think we would have far more interesting options, because, I don't know. I definitely would say that these two hills here, and it seems like the river goes between them, is a very good and powerful indicator for the map, but what do I know, right? Exactly, the mountains are north and south. Just zooming in if I see like another interesting detail here. Yeah, a very large range on the south, exactly. So this is the south, and this mountain range must be very impressive, to say the least. Yeah, Anduin, like Tolkien, like you and I form a diphthong, and Tolkien describes it as in ruin, basically. So, Anduin. Sometimes I work the I out a bit more. Anduin, sometimes I say, because in my mind, you and I are never diphthongs. It's just a thing, but I might be a bit off there. Yeah, if we, I don't know, it's just really, really a lot of map stuff, right? Is there anything else where this could be? Like, as said, Miss Lond doesn't work. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, the map runs east and west. And I think that is why my initial thought was also still one of the things I like most is definitely the Gap of Rohan or the Gap of Kalinardon. Because here we have like something that like this, well, wrong. I moved the wrong stuff. It's always a bit annoying. Like this mountain range could be like the end of the Misty Mountains, and then here on the other side we could simply see the White Mountains. That would kind of work. The only thing that doesn't fit is a river, though. Like the river goes east, and the actual river here that we see, the Isen, for example, goes west and not east. That's definitely a problem, I guess. And we're too far away. Like we could, for example, move our arrow further down like this to Edoras, basically. But then we have the problem that we are too close to this wall here. You could maybe argue it's somewhere here or so. Maybe that would kind of work. So this is basically mountain. No, it doesn't really work because the White Mountains really go down here quite a lot. And even this here doesn't, scale-wise, it doesn't work too well either, in my opinion. I mean, you could make it work, but if we look at this image here, the problem is definitely that these mountains seems to go on for quite some time. So really hard to say. My first impression, I saw the mountains out there. That must be the Misty Mountains, but it's really hard to make the Misty Mountains work because it's just a mountain range that goes from north to south. We need one that goes from west to east. I still think it's because we saw Galadriel crossing the Helcarax to Beleriand is a possibility. The question is if we could check Beleriand out if people don't mind. Might get more confusing then. The problem is there aren't that many rivers that would work. There would be the Askar, but we can exclude this. Like the Askar goes east, but we don't have mountains north and south from it. So that doesn't really work if we would go full Beleriand mode. Is there another river which goes east that could work? Really hard to say. I feel like most of the rivers go from north to south. Now, of course, we have the Sirion. I mean, let me just think. Could this be here if we consider it goes south? No, it doesn't work too well. The bay looking in Dorlumin. Yeah, that is definitely something that could kind of work, I feel. Like that's up here. Because here we have mountains to the west, but it feels like this mountain range here, which I have no idea what it's called. Let me just see. Do we have a name here? It's named here a bit. I can't read it. It's Eregion, this side. Not sure if the other side is also called Eregion. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's really hard to say because this. I mean, it seems to go south for quite a bit and then make a turn. You could maybe argue. Also, we don't see too much of a river going inland, but you could say it's just missing. It's really hard to say. It's an edited map by my moderator, who's really good at map stuff, don't get me wrong. So I assume if there's no mention, maybe I could see, we could check the atlas though, but do I have it somewhere? I have it. Do you have a good Beleriand map is always a question. Might be. Oh, that's Aman. That is wrong. That part is of course cut off. That is unfortunate. Now there, Hislum. Yeah. There's maybe a river there. Maybe I have to Google it. Is this a river? No. It's just an entrance, but there could be a river, but I'm not sure. So, Karen Wynne Fonstead, who made the Atlas of Middle-earth, has maybe something like a river coming from the Lake Mithrim, that is this one here, going down here to the bay. So maybe it's possible. River north of Gondolin. So Gondolin is, let me see, hard to see, but Sirion, Gondolin is here. Now I see it. Hard to. I think there's a snap sometimes and I can't place it. That is Gondolin. Going east. We just see Gondolin's here. I don't know. Gondolin doesn't really work too much. North of Gondolin. There's a river Reveal, right? Maybe this here. I mean, it's very mountainy in this area, to be honest, so it could kind of work. We look into a vale. We have mountains on both sides. Yeah, it could work. I don't think though it's Beleriand, if I'm honest, but I look at Erech in a moment, Yeah, I mean, I have to admit this kind of could work too, to be honest. Though I would imagine it's more forest-like. You have to consider several things though. If this is the first age, this place up here is basically hell. It's basically Angband is somewhere up here in the north. Maybe it's further up here. It's hard to say. So it looks a bit too friendly to be this close to Angband, if that makes sense, right? Oh, Jensen Baker, welcome. Nice to see you. Yeah, we're also looking at Fonstad's book. Yeah. You said, Gigi, I should check the northwest of Erech. So we have to switch maps. We go back to the second age map. Erech is, I think, here. Should be, right? Or is it the other side? Yeah, that should be Erech. Somewhere here. So you said north of it. So do you mean basically this little river snippet here? What question is being covered? Oh, maybe I should, for people just tuning in. This screenshot here was released, and we basically tried to find out possible locations on the map where this could be, where this tower could be. And we assume this is either, it's most likely east, because the sun rises in the east usually, and that makes sense. I mean, it could be south or west as well, but we exclude that this direction is north. And as a result, we have this big mountain range here. If this is east, this is south then, and we have a southern mountain range that goes in the direction of east. And here on the other side, north, we have also a mountain range in some places, and we just checked some first age stuff even. Currently, the suggestion by Gigi is that we are somewhere around, might be around Erech. So we have this river here. The problem, maybe it's not sure if it's a problem though. Let me just think. If this is east, let me just think for a moment. It's always complicated. So if we look east, we should look into a mountain range. I mean, we could assume we look west. If we look east, I would say Erech doesn't work. If maybe though I get you wrong, or maybe you also have to consider that it's definitely quite a bit of distance here that we are seeing, but it feels a bit too small. Considering that we look right at a mountain range of the White Mountains, if that makes sense. I mean, if you turn the camera a bit, it could work. Like if you just say we are maybe we're looking, what is it, southeast or so. Yeah, exactly. The greater range, if we look east, is the greater range needs to be south. So if we look here at the map, like this mountain range is south. If we look east, and we don't see this, it would need to be on the other side. I can, of course, again invert the image because I'm prepared an inverted image version of this in Photoshop. Then stuff would work better, in my opinion. It's kind of fascinating how many places suddenly start to work when you just turn the map, invert the map, but that doesn't work. But it was an interesting idea nonetheless. Baron Bailey says on the end of the map is the river past where Candace. Yeah, we discussed this. I also have to admit I like this idea. I assume you think of somewhere here. I don't know. Let's pretend maybe here or so. So you would have in the north, does this even work? If we look east, yeah, north of it should be these mountains, south of it are the others. Could kind of work, I would assume. Maybe it's also here or so. It's hard to say in which direction we look exactly. You could argue it could work though. I think the valley on the mountain range on the right, meaning the mountains in the left part of the range, does that make sense? Mountain range on the right. You mean the White Mountains, or do you mean the what is it called, the Eregion, which are here in Mordor? Like, as Círdan pointed out, they added like a river here that I think appears nowhere else in any map material. Oh, well, I hope you enjoy, Antonio. That makes sense. But I assume you mean the White Mountains, right? The previously considered river, so the Eregion part, right? Which was here. I mean, in the image, I'm intentionally avoiding cardinal direction. Ah, okay. I see. I still have to admit, Gap of Rohan for me is my favorite one, though the direction of the river doesn't work. I mean, we could argue that maybe we are, I don't know, here or something, you know what I mean? Like, we could argue that the river goes north at some point. Maybe, you know what I mean? Could work, I guess. I have to say, this idea or this position I like most. Even though the White Mountains are off quite a bit. Maybe they made a photo which was pretty without thinking about Middle-earth geography. That is also a possibility, of course. But as said earlier, maybe it was an accident, but let me just see if I can get this other screenshot back. In the teaser, they made this here, and there are some very strong indicators for this screenshot. Where is it now? There. For this screenshot, that this here is Romena. Romena is on the east coast, so this must be west. And if you looked at the shadows of the bridge, it seemed like the shadows are cast. Let me just think. We look into the west here, right? And the shadows were cast in the direction south. If this is noon. I mean, it could also be morning, then it would not fit, to be honest. But yeah, it fitted somewhat well. So I could at least give them the benefit of the doubt that they maybe put in some thought and actually considered the geography of Tolkien. We just switch the image back. Always production stuff in the background. Takes always a moment. I also could put in the Twitter link again. Let me just see. Maybe should have posted it. I'm not sure which bot does my source stuff here. Okay, it's Nightbot, I think. Let me see if that kind of works now. So people can look at the screenshot themselves if they want to have that bigger. Let me just and if people okay. If the Nightbot doesn't want to post, it's always the same. In case people want to download the second age map, that's the official one. This one here that I have is edited, just in case you want to see that. Oh, Rosie Gumshe's back. Yeah, they need to be exact down the last square inch. Exactly. Like, that's also one of the iconic things about Tolkien, I think, that the geography matters all the time, that he always described directions and where is something and made a map and so on, which I always thought was pretty awesome. So, I mean, you could be right, but I give them the benefit of the doubt. Also, I'm still wondering why Mr. Nightbot is not working. Just check something. That's that's the wrong bot though, but that took literally a minute. Nightbot is already asleep, it seems. Okay, the other bot works. Okay, stuff works. This is the screenshot to the Twitter that finally works. Awesome. The link won't open. Which one? The map one. Oh, the Twitter one. It works for me, okay. If I click on them, they work for me, both links, so... None of the links open from chat. Oh, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know. It's we are pretty much going into circles by now. So probably a good point to slowly end the stream. Except there are maybe there are some more questions or so. Or maybe suggestions. We could still check some other places. But overall, I found it quite fun to speculate about this. Not gonna lie. So yeah, it was an interesting screenshot. I have to say it looks kind of nice. Like, it definitely has some nice Middle-earth feeling to me, if I'm honest. Like, I could imagine, yeah, that is interesting to think, where could this be? And looks like a nice place. So just imagine this is now in motion and the camera moves and so on, and you have nice music. That it's kind of easy to make, like, to make me happy with Middle-earth stuff, I guess. But yeah, it kind of works, I have to admit. Also find the tower interesting. Like, it has like some rope stuff going on here. I'm not an expert on tower building, to be honest, but I find these details are quite interesting. There are multiple ropes in this tower. I don't know why that is, though. Maybe, yeah, the idea could maybe to stabilize this building on top. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit again. Like, you see this rope stuff here. Maybe it's basically simply used to give extra stability, or maybe it's connected to these to this thing here to make it more stable. I mean, there must be a lot of wind up there, I feel. So maybe they need to add something to stabilize it, to keep it basically in place if the storm is coming. Would be an interesting detail to add, in my opinion. Wildcard option, Valinor. Well, I think east. Like, Valinor could kind of work, but not if you look east. This would have to be south for, no, it doesn't work for Valinor, I think. When we could look into Valinor, let me just see if I made a map myself at some point. Just have to make it a little bit bigger. So this would be the Valinor map. I made this like for a video a long time ago. As you can see, the biggest mountain range we have is this here. And if we look south, let me just pretend we look south, then on the west side, now I have to get this size back and check. If we look down south, this here would be west. So this side would kind of work, because it would be these mountains here, maybe. However, the other side doesn't really work, because then here needs to be the ocean, if we would be on this side. If we would be on the other side of the this place here, then the mountain range would be on the wrong side again. You know what I mean? If we look down south, it would be east of it instead of west. Or maybe I mixed it up in my head again. Yeah, it must be left. Yeah. This would be then the what is it called? The Pelori, right? Yeah. These must be the Pelori then, and the Pelori are really massive, like insanely massive. Like the biggest mountain, like Tarniquitil is here on is also part of them, and this mountain range is just really, really massive. So this side wouldn't work, and we don't have, if we look south, we don't have on both sides a mountain range. We only have one, And in this case, it would kind of fit because the mountain range, if we look down here, must be on the right side. That is what we see here in the picture. But then we need ocean at the other, and that doesn't work either. So I would say Valinor doesn't. We can rule out Valinor for sure. Would be also strange to see Valinor. I mean, we had one screenshot of Valinor already. Let me see if I can get that screenshot going. Let me just switch to something here while I change it in the background. I mean, we have the first screenshot ever posted was from Valinor. That was this one here. And here we also see these massive mountains. So, yeah, this would be looking west, and we have to look east. East of Aman is the ocean, though. So east is a really not the ideal direction if you don't straight up look to the water or to a massive mountain range, depending on the side. So I guess that doesn't really work too well. We just revert everything. Yeah, we we discussed the blue mountains, Eregion, that are these mountains. Actually, like at the beginning of the stream already. If we look east, so in this direction, sure, you can maybe make it work. The problem is, if we this mountain range. Wait, let me just go back to this mountain range. If we look east, is in the south, and if we look at the map, it has to follow the east, and it doesn't really do this. Like, this is a massive mountain range and it goes into the wrong direction. Maybe let me just see. Maybe you could argue, I don't know, maybe we are somewhere here or so. But I'm not sure if that really works too well. Because this mountain range here just looks far too massive for that, in my opinion. But it's definitely a good thought. Maybe it's possible. Maybe they took some liberties. We don't know that, but I would say it's... I mean, you are right from the... It kind of works, but I think it's not perfect. I would say, except for the river, the gap of Rohan works a bit better. Interestingly... Yeah, I don't know. The river kind of... Like, the river here also, if we look at the screenshot again, the river goes east and maybe slightly turns north. You could argue that this river here goes much, much steeper north right away. So, it's not perfect, I guess. Yeah, it has to be maybe left of the loon. Yeah, I'm also very curious what we will see. I have to say it's pretty cool to see Valinor though, but or Aman to be precise. Valinor is the part basically west of the mountains, but of the TPhLore. But it's kind of interesting. I would maybe look at the tower a little bit more. Maybe we find some cool details that we haven't checked before. We do this by zooming in quite a lot, which is a bit complicated for me to do. So what is interesting now that I see it, you see the maybe it's hard to see, but you see the leaf patterns or whatever you call them, the leaf decoration on these, let's call them pillars. That kind of reminds me of another screenshot. Now I'm in trouble because I'm running out of screenshot stuff to show. Huh. How am I doing this now? Can I just duplicate this and it works? And it duplicates the other stuff as well? No, it's the instance. It's now an instance. That's not good. Just in case you wonder, I need a second image, a second scene to help me out here, else I'm a bit in trouble. It can't be, oh, it's wrong. It can't be a reference. It's complicated to explain. It just has to do with production stuff. Let me see if this works. Yeah, this pattern reminds me a bit of one of the stuff that was released. Let me just see. Okay, now I don't find my the stuff anymore. Sometimes I'm terrible at this. Where did I save them? Not on Prime, Serious Posters, should be here. Why did I save the poster? I simply don't find them anymore. Title reveal. It's a screenshot of that. Like, I'm too stupid to find them. Why did I store them? Like, I have a folder for all the released Lord of the Rings on Prime stuff, but I can't find them here in my directory. That's so strange. I have an idea. I think I know why. Oh. I know why I don't see them. It's the wrong format, right? Yeah. It's a. Okay, I found the technical problem with that. But the point is, that I have to do differently. But yeah, if we switch now to the, finally found a way for the screenshot. If we switch to the other screenshot here, you see also some of these leaf patterns on this wooden armor that is kind of strange. And it's maybe distance similar to what we see on this pillar here, if that makes sense. Sorry for taking so long to switch this, but I really was confused for a moment. The Geländer handrail, I think it is. It looks as part of the ornament. That's a pretty good point. It looks like, what do you call them, ranks or so? No, in German it's Ranken, but you know what I mean. It probably ranks is probably wrong. Vines. Vines is the English word. It looks a bit like vines, right? That's the word. Just hoped the English word would be similar. Nope. Not at all. Yeah, exactly. If this is, that's another good point. If this is Arondir, that's a really good point. He is a Sylvan elf or something like that. He is definitely not one of the high. It's probably not one of the high elves. As a result, he can't be in Valinor. That's another good point. I'm not sure they know what they want to explore. Yeah, I'm also not sure about that, to be honest. But like I said, does the orange horizon look like desert to anyone? Yeah, I mean, you could argue if we go. Wait, let me just try to move this a bit back. If we go back here and look at like this, you could argue that maybe the background here gets a bit more dry, if that makes sense. So I could. Let me just see if I can maybe bring this in to some degree up on the screen that it kind of works. It might be difficult to do this here on stream live. How could I do this? It's not that easy. Capture. I'm not sure if it works with window capture. If not, I'm screwed. It kind of works. Okay. I could try. Oh. I could try to get the days out a little bit. Like this. Now we have special effects here on stream. It's hard to say. It might have to do with the color of the sun and so on. The information's pretty incomplete. But you could definitely maybe move stuff around a bit. Uh-oh, the bots are invading again. Maybe you mean the armor of the guys he had in the Vanity Fair article. Yeah. There was the posters, and the Vanity Fair article also had a screenshot of him. Like, this was the poster. Probably hard to see. Could try to make it, bigger. Okay, that worked much better than I expected to be. But yeah, if I zoom in like quite a bit like this, you see some of the vine things here. I'm not sure. Like I said, zooming here in OBS to this degree, like a little zooming, no problem. But if you just have very big pictures and just want to zoom 50 times in, you know what I mean? Like you could, maybe not. Maybe it's just random, but it kind of feels similar, if that makes sense. The leaves here, this leaf pattern. Could this tower just be a watchtower not near any settlement, maybe lives alone to keep watch on the enemy? That is completely possible, but it's still hard to say where this is. Maybe a new group of elves introduced by Amazon. I mean, it would be funny if he would be an Avari, but I assume, isn't he declared a Sylvan elf? I like how bots can find the stream, but YouTube fails to inform me 75% of the time. Yeah, it's just not funny at all. Bots always find their way. The architecture of the tower looks elven. Would that give a hint to the geographic location, the second age? If we go back to our fun map, like the main settlements of the elves in the second age, let me just try to get this map a bit smaller again. It's maybe a bit too small, but whatever. Yeah, the main settlements of the elves in the Second Age would be Lindon and Eriador. Later, after the destruction of Eregion, excuse me, Eregion, not Eriador. Eregion, later after the destruction, we have Rivendell. It is founded in the Second Age. And then we have LotRRoP. And that is here. And beyond LotRRoP, we have... It's really hard to say where they were in the Second Age exactly. But we also have somewhere in this forest here at different locations, because according to the Unfinished Tales, they move north, further north. Maybe this is here later Dol Guldur, it called at this time Amon Lang, the Naked Hill translated, and it basically, it's maybe an assumption that the elves were the Sylvan elves of Thranduil, or maybe his father Orofer, considering if you see him as canon or not, lived down here. He moved up further north. At some point, they lived close to these mountains at some point, it seems, and then later, at some point in the Second Age, or even in the Third Age, Thranduil founded his halls up here. That is where we find them then later in the Hobbit, and the Elven King's halls are here. So that is another group of elves. And then there's one last one. We know that there must have been elves, maybe-ish, round about here. There was a place called Ethelond, and there also Sylvan elves lived at that time. I also thought about that, like, if we consider the potential locations of the elves, maybe I also suggested maybe this river here, the Ringlo or something, could be another candidate for the screenshot, but I don't think so. The elves building stone towers seem more out of the First Age. Is that character confirmed to appear on the Second Age? Things do not make sense. My head hurts. My argument why this is a Second Age character is very much based on the fact that he has a romantic relationship with a woman of men, and her name is Bronwyn, and Bronwyn is an Old English name. So I would assume, if I hear Old English names for men, I usually assume Norsemen, and usually it's Third Age stuff, to be honest. Before, it might have been Gothic names, but whatever, we give it a pass. And as a result, I would assume she's from this region here at this time, if that makes sense. Because in the First Age, sure, some men potentially lived here as well. But, yeah, I don't know. It gives me more a Second Age vibe, for sure. Of course, the elf is immortal, basically, so he could have lived long before. He lived long before Bronwyn lived, and so on. But since it's a Second Age show and so on, I would assume it's Second Age. But you could be right; it could be also First Age stuff. But considering that they only have access to the Lord of the Rings, and the Lord of the Rings is very, very limited to its First Age information, I don't see it as too likely that they dive too much into the First Age only to explain stuff and so on, because it's really complicated. Of course, we already have one screenshot that is part of the First Age, and especially part of the First Age of the Years of the Trees, not the Years of the Sun. So that is, yeah, pretty far back. Though I would assume it's late Years of the Sun, but we discussed this when the first screenshot came out, like, I don't know, last year. Tarsus says, just stumbled upon your streams 3 days ago. I like to listen to your streams while playing Battle for Middle-earth. Yeah, much fun playing Battle for Middle-earth. Also, really good game. I think relatively hard to get it these days. Though I think there is like a version you can get and play at least online or so. Oh, Orinus Winters here, welcome. Good morning, sir. Nice to see you here. Oh boy, it's really late already here. I'm just streaming too long all the time. But it's kind of fun, I have to admit. Like, I really like this speculation stuff. But as said, somebody wrote something about these cables or ropes. Yeah, and wood armor, really, that makes sense. I think in Japan there was also like some way that you prepare wood and make armor out of it. There might be some idea behind it, though for elves it's also pretty strange. Or you don't see the ropes. Still find this a very interesting detail, I have to admit. Like you I don't know, prepare. I'm not sure what the exact word for it is, but you use fire and I don't know, smoke a special wood, and then you can harden it in a way, and I don't know what. There was something came up when these posters came out, but I can't fully remember it. I think somebody posted in chat. There might be cultures, for example, I think it was in Japan that had something like this, but I don't know. Don't ask me. I also found it strange. Yeah, Battle for Middle-earth is fairly easy to get if you are willing to bend some rules. That is true, though. I think, though, there is, like, you can somewhat legally download a multiplayer version of it where you can play online or so, but only for Battle for Middle-earth 1, not for 2, if I remember. I have to leave this part. Hello, am I back? Okay, I should be back, right? You can hear me again. Sorry for the little break here. In theory, I should be back again. Here now. Okay, you are back. Oh, you're back. Okay, awesome. I felt like, okay, maybe 24-hour disconnect or something like this should come up soon. But I think it wasn't that. Are you awesome? Yeah, the I'm not sure when it when I had a small disconnect, but yeah, there were 3 main clans, and they went on a great journey. Like, let me see if I have this awesome map that explains this better. So the elves awoke here in the first age during the years of the trees, and they they were invited to Aman, basically, which is here, and they went on the so-called Great Journey. And some of the elves, and they were split into 3 clans: the Vanyar, the Noldor, and the Teleri. And then there were some elves among them who decided to not go on this journey, and those are the Avari. I think it's translated to refuses, because they refused to go, if I remember correctly. Or maybe it's Forsaken, I forgot it. But maybe I'd look it up. Don't want to tell wrong stuff here. Yeah, the unwilling or refuses, something like this. And they stayed. And we can later find, like in some of the notes of Tolkien, the idea that when men came from Hildorien is, I don't know, somewhere down here. Some of the Edain also went to Beleriand, that is the old west coast that later sunk into the ocean. And we can read in one version that when they, I don't know where exactly it was, maybe around the Misty Mountains, Eriador or so, they met some of the Avari elves, and they already taught them a bit about language and music and so on. I think there's somewhere a mention. The Unwilling says my Silmarillion. Yeah, that should be roundabout correct. Do you think Círdan was an OG elf? I mean, an so-called unbegotten? No, he was definitely not an OG elf. Originally, I thought he would be close to that. Maybe it is possible to be a so-called unbegotten elf for him because, but the argument against it was always that we know Círdan was kin to Thingol. So when he is related to him, he must have parents, and if you have parents, he can't be an unbegotten. And even Thingol also had brothers, so he most likely also had parents. Of course, you could argue he was born as they were born brothers, like for example Manwë and Melkor are also brothers, though they don't, of course they have Eru Ilúvatar as father basically, but in a way who created them, but God basically created them as brothers. I'm not sure if you can transfer that idea to elves though, but in the book that released last year, The Nature of Middle-earth, we have actually information about, and they were like, I think Círdan is like 6th or 7th generation. I forgot the exact number because I'm very bad at memorizing numbers. But no, he was not an unbegotten. Tolkien interestingly made notes about it and noted, no, that was not the case. But he was still pretty close to it and early. Not sure if he exactly is mentioned. I think Thingol and so on are mentioned. Not sure about Círdan. Maybe I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure I won't find it that fast. No, I think Círdan is not mentioned in that table. I would have to look for... Maybe we look Finwë. Finwë should be easier to find. No, probably I won't find it that fast either, to be honest. But Tolkien made some calculations how big the elven populations were at this time. It's about a wedding. Probably I don't find it. There was like... Oh. Here's the table. It's a key dates. Can't tell you the page because it's my digital version here, but it's I think part 1 section, or I don't know, chapter 13 key dates. There's like a list, and there you can basically think of who was born first and so on. 12th generation first appeared. Let me see, maybe it was like... Yeah, it was probably 12th generation. Something like this was Finwë and Elwë and Ingwë. And as a result, Círdan was probably even... was maybe a bit younger. Could be 13th generation or so, I'm not sure. Hard to say, but it's pretty close. Did Tolkien write about the Land of the Sun? This is a place I know nothing about. So the Land of the Sun is this here. We only know that there are some hills or some mountain range on it, and there is the Gate of Morning. Yeah, the Gates of Morning are there. I think beyond, it's also called the Burnt Land, if I remember, because the sun rises there, and that's big. Why it's there? It's pretty hot there, I guess. And that's basically all we know about it, I think. There might be more information. I'm not sure what we find in the Book of Lost Tales about it. I need to put this phrase into the bot. And basically get this stuff auto banned. Let me just see. I have it deactivated here, I think, so I have to do this with Nightbot. Always difficult. Spam protection. Like, I think there's like a blacklist for words I could modify. Maybe I can. Wow. Probably Nightbot takes a moment, but whatever. Gates of Morning or Gate of Morning. I don't know. For me, it sounds the same. I'm not sure if it's pronounced differently. You could use Regex for it. Yeah, I just try the spam filter thing. They've been officially labeled a disturber of the chat. Exactly. It's also funny that Noah answers the question about Círdan a bit. Noah is the original, or the original Quenya name of Círdan, for people wondering. I think according to the War of the Jewls book, one of the History of Middle-earth books, book number 11, I think it is. I also, like, if we would now return to our fantastic screenshot here. I also try to find like buildings or so in this place, because we see like a lot of basically passes there that you can see. Like, we have this weird object here. Maybe this is a house. Maybe it's a lake or so. Maybe it's just a rock or so. It's really hard to say. Sadly, the resolution of the image is not that high. This here definitely seems to be like water, because it has like reflection going on. There's also this here, might also be water, or like, be surprised if it's a small house or so. And here we have an interesting object. I think this place here could be a house. You know why I think that? This here might be the house, the black part of it, and this is the smoke coming out. I also noticed that one. Pretty interesting. So there is definitely civilization there. Did you guys consider that the picture we were looking at earlier could be a spotter of those beacons that were lit to call for aid? That's an interesting idea. Sadly, these beacons only come into place. I'm not sure when they come into place, to be honest, but with the foundation of Gondor, because if we look at the map, these beacons we know from Lord of the Rings, the idea for them is basically because this part here, Calinardon, which later becomes Rohan, is part of Gondor for a long time. And as you can imagine, when your capital is here, and Minas Tirith is like Osgiliath on the river, probably didn't hit it right. Minas Tirith, or at that time called Minas Anor, is here, and some of the other cities are down here, and I don't know where. You have this huge mountain range basically splitting your place in part, and so for these part to communicate in emergency with each other, these beacons were put into place. Or it was originally an invention of Gondor, but Gondor is only founded very, very late in the Second Age already, so they should not be in place yet. I'm not sure if they even only come into place in the Third Age, to be honest. Are we sure this is even in Middle Earth? It could be Valinor. If this person on the we discussed this also, so for repeating myself a little bit, like if this person here is an elf, which I assume, because somebody stated, like Fellowship of Fen stated that this is Arondir, or whatever his name was, then I'm not sure about the article, but I think it says he's a Sylvan elf, and Sylvan elves were never in Valinor, so this can't be Valinor. Also, we looked at Aman, and the formation of the mountains here don't make any sense if this is not like if this is Valinor, they would make very little sense, considering that we look towards the south, the east, I mean. So I'm pretty sure we are definitely in Middle Earth. I also didn't know for a long time, but Nature of Middle Earth really surprised us all there. Let me just see, in case people wonder how the book looks. Yeah, this is Nature. Oh, the arrow is still in it, but you get the point. This is by Karl F. Hofstadter, who basically published some published, unpublished notes and stuff of Tolkien. Basically, all that wasn't published yet. There is probably some stuff left of Tolkien's notes that are still unpublished, but it's probably not enough for a book of this size. If you have read through History of Middle-earth already, or at least the last 3 books, and are very deep into this might be very interesting. But it's a very specific book that needs definitely some background information and knowledge about the Silmarillion and so on. It's hard to. I often feel I really like the book, Toby, and I look quite a bit into it. I like how it's structured and so on. It's done really well. I really like that, for example, Hofstadter always tries to date the texts, and in every text you find, like in italic letters, a small or longer text passage that explains how these notes were found, were they handwritten or whatever, and then also tries to date them and say it's from 1962 or something. That's very important, because sometimes you need to know in which context or in which state of development of Tolkien's mythology this was written, to bring it into some context. And I often feel like you pretty have to find out yourself if something is useful or not, and can interpret a lot around this. But it's pretty cool book. Can recommend it if you are really deep into the lore. And there's a lot of stuff that surprised a lot of people, like dancing bears, or that some of the Maiar were guardians during the Great Journey, literally called guardians. There's like some names for the blue wizards that you have never read before, and so on. Pretty awesome stuff in it. Maybe it's the Brandywine, and that's old Tom's house. Yeah, that's also a possibility, I guess, but probably the old forest is a little bit not forest-like enough for that, I guess. Also, there's no river of this size, I would assume. Like, what is... just out of curiosity, we could get the Third Age map here. And we know here, for example, in this area, we have the Midgewater marshes, but there's no river next to it. So it doesn't work, to be honest. And we don't have the mountain power that we would need to explain this gigantic mountain range there. Still like the idea, though. I know it was just a joke, but kind of curious. it's an official world map. So many variations of the continent size and shapes. Yeah, Tolkien published with Lord of the Rings a map. Some of the, I think most versions you can buy these days have like a map with them. And for example, in the German version I have that you can take it out even. That's pretty handy. In my 50 anniversaries version, it's basically bound to the book if I'm not mistaken. And it was basically done by Tolkien, so it's kind of official. But of course, some of the details we find here, like the distance of the Sea of Rhun to the Red Mountains and so on, we find some information. I think I'm not sure if Círdan is still here. Probably he's already went to bed long time ago. I think there is some information about the Red Mountains here to the Sea of Rhun and so on. But yeah, it gets more complicated. But this basic outline of Middle Earth is pretty well known. Like there is an official map for it from Tolkien, yeah. And also has like sizes and shapes and so on. I can't show you the map because of right things. Maps and pictures are always difficult. Oh, we are still on it. Well, yeah, now I'm just lost track of. Like I said, it should be a short stream. Now I'm streaming 3.5 hours, which is probably a good time to really end the stream because I really need to sleep. I have a lot of editing to do tomorrow for also an upcoming video. So maybe if you're very lucky, there will be a video up tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday, but I don't know yet. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I mean. But yeah, it gets complicated with time zones now. For me, it's already Tuesday. Let's not talk about the time here. The one time all my Middle Earth maps would be useful. I'm out of town. I don't have access to them. I have to admit, except for maybe a few mistakes, the original Amazon map that I linked here a moment ago. Let me maybe make a command for that. Let me just scroll up really quick. I can maybe, let me just add a command really fast. I call it map. Let me just see if I don't have a command like this already. Don't want to get the bots confused. I think the map Amazon published, it was created, I think, by John Howe, and he did a pretty decent job, I have to admit. Though there are probably a few smaller mistakes here and there. My moderator can probably tell you more about it. He edited a bit, but still pretty helpful. Response. So link to the second age map. Link to Amazon's. Age map by John Howe. I think he's the who made the map. Okay, let's hope it works. Always hard to say if the bot works. Sometimes the bots have quite a bit of delay here. You can also use these, at least some of the exclamation mark something like exclamation mark map or exclamation mark link commands, and then stuff should happen. Depends maybe on if I updated it or not, but it kind of worked. Hope I spelled John Howe correctly, but I think that's how I spell him. I'm also not sure how he's pronounced, but I think it's something like this. I enjoyed the stream. First time I've been able to catch you. But I hope to be able to do so again. Awesome. Like, happy that you liked it here. I streamed, as said, far long. In my mind, I streamed like an hour or and a half, maybe 2. Which for some people is already like a long stream. But considering that my last stream was like, how long? I think 5 hours something. Yeah, the last stream was 5 hours 20. So I think in comparison to that, that was a pretty short stream. But I did not expect to stream 3.5 hours today, which always shows that it's so much fun speculating and looking at maps and so on. I also really like the name of the stream, Looking at Maps with Chris. It's basically what we did today. But yeah, the map of John Howe, of course, orients quite a bit on the map of Tolkien drew, and we find in Lord of the Rings. So it's mostly correct, and I think the objects don't really change too much, to be honest. Hey man, you really are a gem. Keep it up. Thank you. Much, much appreciated. I also don't know the story of these mountains, to be honest. That's also an interesting question. Interesting. When are we going to have actual videos? I'm currently working on the next video. If we all are lucky, I managed to edit it tomorrow. It will be the next part of the Who is Elrond video, of course. We cover the War of Angmar for the most part, but not completely, sadly. Didn't fit completely in the video. We talk a bit about Greenwood the Great and Thranduil and so on. So some interesting topics coming up. I'm not sure if I managed to edit it tomorrow, though, completely, or if I... if not, it will be then done Wednesday. You will like tomorrow or the day after that. Tuesday or Wednesday, I would assume, if nothing comes in. Like, if they... Let's just assume they would, like, release the Amazon trailer tomorrow. Then maybe I would push it a bit back. Just people know, because then we will do another live stream and I don't know what. Will be definitely, what do you call it? In German we say Ausnahmezustand. What is that in English? Emergency situation, exceptional state, emergency rule, something like this. State of emergency, yeah, something like this. Yeah, let's not talk. Like I said, let's not talk about time. Exceptional situation, yeah, something like this. Just a lot of Germans are here. At least people who speak German. Yeah. There was also a Command and Conquer add-on that had this name, I think, from an add-on for Command and Conquer 2 video game. In German, at least, it was called Ausnahmezustand. What was it called in English? Let me just Google that. I'm now curious. Red Alert, probably the easiest to find. Command and Conquer Red Alert. Was it Retaliation? No, it was in German it was called Vergeltungsschlag, which means the aftermath. It's not a good translation, I guess. Ausnahme. Okay, I remember this one. There was the PlayStation version of it that was called Gegenschlag, and it was a mixture of both add-ons, and that was called Retaliation. Okay, I just messed it up in my head, but it was 20 years ago or so that I played that, and more than that. So, yeah, just too long ago. My theory is that the entire internet is just Germans speaking English with each other. That would be very funny. So yeah, definitely that is a thing I try to complete tomorrow, so there is a lot of fresh content on the channel. Like, I feel like I really released a lot of content the last... Yeah, Gegenschlag is, I think, Counter-Strike in English, the add-on name. In German was called Gegenangriff was the German name. It was Counter-Strike, and the PlayStation version was called Gegenschlag, and that was translated with Retaliation, and it was a mixture of Counter-Strike and the Aftermath. But let's not go. It gets complicated. I also had to look it up. Isn't there also a new Command & Conquer game development or something like that? But yeah, whatever. Let's not talk about video games. Of course, I would love to basically see something that nobody has noticed before. Like, I really feel proud that I've seen this little house with the smoke potentially on the picture, which I kind of like. Now I have to make it big again, which takes a moment. It's a bit of a pain. Like this here. Oh, you ask, are you going to do any world building yourself? Not really. I think. Probably only for I don't know, private pen and paper rounds or something, but can't make everything into a job. But yeah, it's really interesting what you can find. Maybe it would be easier. Let me just remove this. It's probably also not ideal. But here I have at least a bit. Wasn't there a way to put this to full screen? But I forgot how that works. Oh, what did I do here? That's not what I wanted to do. Well, this would in theory at least work. Okay, does not work as well as I hoped it would work. That is unfortunate, chat. It's really strange. Are you doing... Oh no, I already read this. I can tell what all those lines are. It makes look like a farmland, but no farms or crops. Roads or paths seems weird. Yeah, it's true, the roads really seem a bit weird. Not gonna lie. I'm surprised that this kind of worked and the other thing didn't work. That's really strange. Let me just see if we can get this transition thing back going, but because here I can zoom in theory. Okay, I lied. I can't zoom here. That's so strange. I mean, you could just do screen capture, then it should work. But that's not really what I want, but... really weird. Well, technology. Sometimes it's confusing. If this is a house, there is a small town, approximately 5 houses or so on the left to your zoomed image. Let me just see if I can get this zoom stuff, live zoom stuff here to work. Yeah, you're right. I see it now. The only way, like... You mean this here, right? Yeah. Good catch. So we see civilization. How did I not see that? And let me just see if I can get the production side going. Like, I hate using... I'm not sure if this will work, but maybe... Yeah, it kind of works. Okay, so here... I'm zooming in Photoshop, so... This place here. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse cursor, though. Probably not. Now you should be able to see it, yeah. So here... There's the thing. Here's the house that I first mentioned. I assume this down here then is also a house. It would be awesome if we would get, and these things here, like, yeah, they get really pixely here. These things here seem to be also, like, this might be really a village. Very interesting. Very good eye, good eye. Well seen, I have to admit. I mean, this here could also be houses, if I'm honest. There's definitely civilization here. I would assume if we go back to the other picture, like I said, it's always a bit not ideal to go full screen capture mode. If we go to this picture, let me see what other picture I wanted to show. Forgot now. Oh yeah, I remember now. Just, it's really late for me. My brain is already lagging. Lagging. It's also lacking, but it's also lagging. Like I have delay thinking. Time screenshots. Empire. First screenshot revealed. So there was like a village in the Vanity Fair article. So maybe, and here we see also the guy who potentially is standing on the thing here. This is by Vanity Fair, as you see with a watermark. And if we just zoom in a bit, we also see that the cape of this elf is pretty similar to the other screenshot, if I'm completely honest, now looking at it. So it's most likely him. So I definitely see a parallel here. It might be this particular village, though, that we see here. Let me just bring it back to a normal size. Could be this place. The question is, do we see a tree? It's probably too... The resolution is a bit, let's say, too unfortunate to really see if there's a tree there. But maybe this is this village here. Freudscher Versprecher, yeah. Yeah, that is possible. But we definitely know that these places are for sure houses because of the smoke coming out. That makes completely sense looking at it. Any idea what the earth works across the river might be northeast of that village town? Northeast of that village town. Question is, what do you mean? Like, is it on this part here, on this section of the screenshot, what do you mean? Do you mean, I don't know, this here maybe? It's not northeast, right? Doesn't look like doesn't like it has walls. Also, here's also a little white dot, but no idea what that is. But okay, so if they don't have access to the Silmarillion, are they trying to make them a copy of Beren and Luthien? I hope not, to be honest, because that is a very special case in the lore and very specific. I don't know. Maybe they do something similar. One orientation for this relationship might be the ancestors of Imrahil. There was also like I think her name was Mithrelas or something like this, like an elven woman, and she married one of the ancestors of the princes of Dol Amroth. I assume they go into this direction, maybe as a reason why they would go for an elf-man relationship. But it is very rare in my opinion, and they should be very careful with it. I hope they have a very good reason to do this. Oh, it doesn't have walls. Yeah, you now I know what you mean. Okay. Now I get it. Yeah. Definitely possible. I mean, you're probably referring to this structure here, right? You should be able to see it close to a tree or so. So yeah, you might be right, but maybe it's just a very small wall section or so. Really hard to say. Like, it's far too pixelated to see these kind of details. It could be the Hobbit village or something. Wasn't there another screenshot of this place or something? I forgot where that was. To be honest. There were so many screenshots published, I definitely lost a bit track of it. Maybe there was something in the trailer? No. Wasn't there like a construction shot, like a making of shot somewhere? I forgot though. Could be a gate to the house. Yeah, that is also possible. But as said, it's really hard to see on the screenshot, so I would not put too much emphasis into this. Hard to say. Could be though. Maybe not. Probably not. I don't know. There's still interesting that there's one house that is really far away though. Like, the question is, I don't know if, like, the hobbits should not have contact with elves or men, though there is an indicator that they might have had because one has an elvish name. It's just really strange, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's long. The stream now was really long enough. That's why I really want to go to bed now. I hope you enjoyed this little endeavor here into diving into the screenshot and finding some stuff out. I hope you enjoyed this. It was much longer than I expected. I said short stream, so it was just almost 4 hours. Yeah, so it became maybe a normal stream. I really hope that it would have been much shorter, but I don't know. I hope it's still interesting enough for people to watch. There's a lot of repetition in the stream, I know, because some new people coming and me explaining the stuff again. But it was really fun, I have to admit. I really like the speculation with shorter than the last one, at least that's true. I really like the speculation with the lore knowledge and the maps and stuff in mind. It's kind of fun for me, finding out where could this be, looking at the cardinal directions and so on. That was always pretty awesome. I learned a lot about the cardinal directions. Have a good night. Yeah, thank you, much appreciated. Shoutouts to the people who support this channel with memberships and likes and comments in the comment section and so on. As said, if people still watching from Germany, there's also now a German-speaking channel if you want to hear me talking about lore in German. It's only one video out yet, and I don't know when I release the next one. That might take a bit. I also, I can roll the credits. As said, tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday, there might be a new lore video out. Will be something like 26 minutes long. Part of the next part of the Elrond stuff, we talk about the War of Angmar and a bit about Thranduil and Mirkwood and the transition to this and Elrond's role and some connections here and there. So pretty interesting topic-wise, in my opinion. Then after that, I might produce the next video, and I expect really the trailer to drop at some point in the future. Like, I don't know when. I really don't know the date. But I would expect in the next few weeks there might be maybe a trailer for the series. Then we definitely stream again and look at it and analyze it, every frame of it. Pretty sure about that. And that will be a lot of fun, I hope. Also, thank you for the chat, that it was for most very civil today. Like, there were not that many people discussing. We could really focus on the map and the lore, and that was a lot of fun. So thank you for that. Thank you again for the support and all the stuff. And see you people next time. Good night. Sleep well. Goodbye.